I would say the most rewarding reform so far is the fact that we managed to push for a tax incentive for people to spend on sports. When I came in, the civil servants told me that for a long time they have been asking for tax deduction to spend on sports training. Now, a lot of good parents who will take time to accompany their children to sports coaching and training. And so they invest their time, and it's a weekly thing, on their rest day. And then on top of that, they also have to spend extra for sports training. And so a lot of these parents then ask us, surely there must be tax incentive to reward such positive action of investing into lifestyle. And so when we look then at the budget that we spend annually for healthcare and how much we spend on prevention, healthy lifestyle, and making sure that our children post-COVID develop a love for sports. And so when we pushed through, we spoke to Ministry of Finance, we spoke to LHDN, and both were very receptive. And they allowed, in the budget speech last year, it was mentioned that beginning 2024 and 2025, you will have a special category for tax deduction for sports lifestyle, inclusive of sports training, up to 1,000 ringgit. So I hope that this incentive will be used by people who pay tax, people who spend money on this purpose, to help Malaysia fast-track us into becoming a sporting nation. Yeah, I am hoping for more data to come in once people start using. We will be announcing very soon on the mechanism for this, for them to use this in their tax filing. Yeah, so that's one. Now, number two, the most fulfilling one is after the Asian Games, when we came back, I had lunch with a few of the medalists. And I like to spend time with the athletes just to understand their challenges. A lot of times when at the point of engagement for ministers is usually when you are asked to present a medal or do the flag off sending. But we actually don't spend enough time when they are defeated, when they lose something. Those behind the scenes, there's no engagement. So I like to be in those engagement session to understand what they go through, because only when we understand their frustration and their disappointment, we can plan ahead to ensure that they have their victory moments, right? So in those conversations, they told me, they say, YB, we've been doing this for so long, we can't even get a loan to buy a car. So I asked why, because they say we don't have a contract of employment. They only have allowance up to that point. And then another person told me, even if I want to get married, I don't have savings. I can't plan ahead. And so this we are talking about medalists, which means if medalists are struggling, there will be a breaking point where they will have to choose. Do I pay bills or do I continue pursuing excellence in sports? And after all the investment we spend on training, if we don't close this gap for them, you are going to end up people just quitting. Right? And so we then went back to Majlis Sukan Negara and said, how much would it cost for me to translate their training contract to a contract of employment? And I say, okay, this needs to be our priority. So all other spending, we need to put on hold and spend on this first. Okay? And so they managed to pull it through. January 1st, 2024, our podium athletes have all received a contract of employment. And, when I spoke to Panda Leila told me she's been asking for this for so long, so many years. And she said, it's the feeling, she said, it's like getting the Olympic gold, the feeling. Then you know that it's a really big deal for them. Yeah. That they want to have savings, because your sporting days is only that brief period when you're young. Yeah. And there's no money in EPF. So we have done that. I hope with better more funds coming in later on, I will be able to extend this to our trainees, the podium, the pelapis. Yeah. So currently it's just the podium athletes. Yeah.
Oh.
My first challenge did not come in the form of Commonwealth Games. It came in the form of Jay Chow. If you remember that concert, and that was really difficult because it was a very important match for Harimau Malaya and for Jay Chow also, because I spoke to the concert organizer and the fans. Because of COVID, the concert was deferred for a few times and they incurred expenses also. And so we really wanted to be fair to everybody. And so we allowed the setup of the stage, but that setup of the stage then block off certain amount of seats available to football fans. And out of that crisis, we created a new program called the Big Screen Program, and that is very, very popular. So we set up big screen across the states in Malaysia, giving access to fans who cannot buy tickets to come in to follow that match. Yeah. So when you talk about sports, it's all connected. The accessibility to watching, to participating is important for the fans. When you have audience, you have supporters, then sponsorship will come for that sport. But if you don't create access, then fans have no capacity to follow, right? They lose out in terms of sponsorship for the sports association. And so with big screen now, every time we have a filming, thousands come out. I remember the last football match, when Korea versus Malaysia, half of our Bukit Jalil Stadium was almost full. And no players on the field, just watching a big screen. But imagine filling the stadium for that. Yeah. So I saw a lot of children coming in and watching. And it is my hope that from watching and observing, you will create interest in that sport and pull in new talent. Now, Commonwealth Games is a scenario where we had an announcement made by the former Prime Minister. Ismail Sabri announced that 2027, we would be hosting SEA Games. And so when you look at the expenses that we will have to pay to host SEA Games, and that is still being considered now and exploring options, you want to look at what other income, when it comes in, will be able to help bring down the cost of organizing SEA Games. So when the offer came from CGF for 2026 Commonwealth Games, and they are giving you 600 million ringgit grant to host, apart from my personal feelings and preferences, a responsible minister would say, let's bring all these numbers to the table. Let's go through, thoroughly discuss this. And not just me, let's hear from tourism minister, let's hear from finance minister. So we decided this has to be decided by cabinet. So we would bring it there. And after lengthy discussion, then we recognized that, okay, it's too short a time to be able to pull off a good game. And with that amount of money, we feel that maybe top up would be needed to make it successful. And as a result, because of some of the challenges we face here, the cabinet, we decided that no, we would not take it up. Yeah. So criticism came in the form of, why even consider it? You cannot dismiss something just because you have you need to thoroughly think through and discuss this, because there are people who also say that you are getting free money and the sports industry need this money to spur, training and upgrading of the facilities. And a lot of I spoke to some former athletes and they say, oh, we want to volunteer. Don't spend money on consultants. We want to serve. And for me, the plus point of having Commonwealth Games here would be, I was a student when 1998 Commonwealth Games happened. I remember the feeling of going to Bukit Jalil, seeing the ceremony and feeling like, oh, Malaysia boleh, we can do it. And I feel the children today don't have that experience. The sports administrators who were very much part of 1998 now are retiring. And so there's a new group of sports administrators, the younger one, would require such experience in managing multi games like this. Yeah, so those are the things that the plus point that we would need to consider before saying no. Yeah, so something like that definitely will invite fierce debate, yes or no. But the crowd will also be the same people who say, when you say yes, why waste money? When you say no, why you give up such an opportunity? Yeah. So you do, you die, you don't do, also die. Yeah.